Hello everybody, welcome to another review. I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by Creeper, Sanguivore, third album from the gothic glam rock band. So this band has been going quite strong in the underground scene in a way. They've been slowly building up their popularity, but more and more each time Creeper's trying to push out from the obscure wave of bands to become something that's pretty unique. And I think the direction they're taking gives me some pretty old school vibes. Not old school for me, but maybe old school for those in the 80s. I feel like this definitely takes some of the classic glam rock elements we've seen from uh, other artists back in the earlier era of the genre. So I can definitely see this modern spin that Creeper's been bringing is definitely attracting new audiences. It's kind of like when Ghost brings out some ideas that just feels like you would have heard it before, but it's a more modern take on it. I kind of like it when bands are pretty much giving a sort of resurgent to some of the classic sounds that helped push some of the ideas that we know for rock and even potentially metal. This is definitely an example of kind of bringing that full circle, especially since we have some tracks on here which I think one of the biggest inspirations I could definitely picked out immediately going into my very first Creeper record was that there are some songs that definitely feel inspired by Meatloaf. Further Than Forever is the first track, and this one being the lengthy one definitely reminds me of Bat Out of Hell mixed with Paradise by the Dashboard Light, which I think are two solid Meatloaf tracks, which had the help of Jim Steinman to help write. And you can definitely tell with Further Than Forever and More Than Death that there's a very glam, very, I guess in a way like some sort of softer elements that definitely give it a push. I mean, at least the softness is more for More Than Death. This one's a bit more ballady, it's a bit more melancholy, but it brings out the just overall amazing range that this vocalist has, and I think this is definitely one of the standout tracks for me for that reason. Going into it, I think there's a lot of great moments, just a lot of power, just a lot of fun ideas that they play with. Cry to Heaven was one that definitely hooked me on after Further Than Forever, which I think is a great start, and Cry to Heaven just pushes these ideas. This one felt a little bit less like it was inspired by Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, but it had also was wrapped around its own identity, pushing in elements inspired from other artists. And I'm definitely noticing going for this record that I think the last couple of tracks are definitely where I think the album really lifts up. I think Chapel Gates, or at least Teenage Sacrifice to Chapel Gates, is one of my strongest, most favourite points of the record, and the last two tracks just work really well. Black Heaven is one of my favourite tracks from this record. I think the way that it just has a lot more of this energy I really enjoy, just this classic sound, and then pushing into a bit of a slower end that slowly brings everything together, just gives it a nice little rise and a nice little send off. This Creeper album is pretty good in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the genre as well. I've never really found myself to be a huge into glam rock or gothic rock for that matter, but I think Creeper do a pretty good job on this record. I don't know what the previous sounds are, so if this is a whole unique take, then I can get that, but I feel like this is, around this point, if Creeper haven't, they've kind of solidified their own sound in a way. Yes, there's inspiration from other artists, but bands like Motionless in White have literally made their own sound while also having lots of inspiration, which is mainly shown from the Disguise album. This is where some people may have said that Motionless in White might have literally had their peak sound, and this is really where their uniqueness comes to show, and there's a lot of band inspiration going into it. So I can literally feel that this probably is the similar thing for Creeper, where they've definitely found their sound, but you could still hear some of the inspirations going into it, maybe as a tribute, just maybe as cool ideas that they want to push in. But that's pretty much all I have to say. It's a pretty good album. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a solid listen. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in the next video.